Hey teacher friend, welcome back to my channel. My name's Molly and I'm a first grade teacher who helps other elementary teachers eliminate stress during literacy time so they can spend more time teaching and less time prepping. Today's video is all about 7 mistakes I've made teaching. About a year ago on my other YouTube channel, I made a video of 10 mistakes that I've made teaching, and I went back through and decided to narrow it down to 7 and edit them a little bit because as I've taught another year under my belt, I've realized that there's different mistakes that I've made, and if we're not learning from our mistakes, then how can we be growing? And sometimes I think it's helpful to see other mistakes that teachers have made so you don't feel like you're alone. And as I'm transitioning to 5th grade this coming year and switching schools, I think it's a great time to reflect on what has happened in the last few years, as well as the journey that I'm headed towards now. So I want you to just jump right in. And if any of these mistakes resonate with you, be sure to leave a comment and share. And I would love to have a conversation with you about that. All right, my first mistake. I wish I had started my tutoring business sooner. Now, on this channel, I don't really talk about tutoring. That's all on my Molly Wheatley channel. So you should definitely subscribe to that if you're looking to up-level your teacher business and have extra streams of income. I talk all about that and how to get started tutoring. But the reason I wish I would have started sooner is because teachers don't make a lot of money. And I spent a lot of time taking graduate courses. And while that did definitely give me a bump on the pay scale, I could have been making a lot more money sooner and pay off my car quicker. And once I did start tutoring, I paid off my car almost right away and saved a whole year of interest. So that was one of the big reasons I wish I would have started sooner, because it took a lot of stress off my plate with money and that sort of thing. Another reason is when I first started teaching, I was also teaching Les Mills Body Step, which was a very big time commitment to learn all the choreography, especially as someone who doesn't have a dance background and just loved the class as a participant and then got roped into teaching it. I wish I wouldn't have done that because it kind of killed the love of Body Step for me. And also, it was really stressful and it barely paid anything. So I was using teaching skills, but it was kind of pushing me to the max and not paying very well. Tutoring pays extremely well, and I get to set my own hours. So I wish I would have done that sooner. All right, my second mistake, I talked about this before, is waiting to leave my last school. I probably stayed an extra year because I was afraid to leave. That sounds kind of ominous, I know, but I wasn't tenured at the time, so I was nervous about leaving. I also knew the school I was at had really great kids that had low behavior problems, and so I just was nervous about going to a school where I didn't know anybody. And what I ended up doing was going to a Title I school with tons of behavior problems, and I literally knew no one at that school. So if you are in that situation, please leave me a comment. I'd love to talk to you about that because it was such a hard time for me. But I'm so glad I did it. It's made me a better teacher, and a lot of these mistakes have come from that big change and learning and growing as a teacher. My third mistake is being afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid anymore. As I've gotten older, it's gotten easier, and certainly getting tenure does help with that. If you're at a school where you don't get tenure, I'm sorry about that, because I think it does help you whenever you get some years of experience and couple that with knowing that you can't just get fired for having an opinion. So now when somebody does something that I don't agree with, I will speak up, and I'm not aggressive about it, but I do speak up for what I believe in, and I won't just be the quiet teacher in the faculty meeting anymore. So I wish I would have spoke up sooner, and maybe that would have allowed me to do things differently at my last school, but I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad that I've learned to speak up for myself. And I know it can be hard, but one thing that my dad has taught me is that if you don't speak up for yourself, no one else will, so you have to do it. Okay, number 4 is worrying about what other people think. I wasted a lot of my 20s doing this in general, and especially as a classroom teacher. And some of that ties into being a teacher that doesn't have my own children. I used to think I couldn't really give, I'll say, parenting advice because I don't have kids at home and would they take me seriously? But what I had to come to understand is that I'm spending more time with these children a lot of times than the parents are doing. And I'm able to run and manage a classroom full of, anywhere from 16, I've had up to 24 kids before. And parents will tell me at class parties, they don't know how I do it. They can barely manage the kids they have at home. And it's because structure and classroom management are everything. And parents aren't taught how to do that. And so I had to realize that it's okay for me to give them advice at conferences and tell them what works at school. And, there's a way to handle it to where you don't sound like you're being bossy and worrying about what other people think or they won't take you seriously. I had to stop that and just control the things I can control. And that's giving good advice and tips. And if you're thinking about what other people think about you in terms of other teachers in the building, then you kind of just have to worry about yourself. And if there's another teacher that maybe is harassing you or says stuff about your classroom, if your boss isn't saying anything to you about it, then don't worry about it. And that, my husband has helped me with that. That has been pivotal for me because I've had issues with other teachers that pull kids out of your class and they make little comments or they think they know more than you, but they're just getting a glimpse of your day. And when it comes down to it, they're not your boss. And if you have to tell them that, you have to tell them that. I've been there. All right, number 5. This one is huge. Taking a break at lunch. I used to think lunch was just a time to hustle, to work on my master's classes. And I was even getting my elementary school counseling master's at the same time as my master's in teaching. And so I would have to pull students for small group and do homework over lunch. And I was always stressed. And my other 2 teammates that I love dearly to this day ate lunch together. And I never ate lunch with them. I mean, rarely. I could probably count on my hand how many times I did over the course of a few years. And I really regret that. And when I moved schools, I had great advice from a retired teacher who volunteered in my room, and she told me to eat lunch with my team every day. And the following year, I did that, and it was great for our relationship. We really bonded. We had each other's backs. And today, I still do that with one of my teammates. We eat lunch together. And I know moving schools next year, I'm going to try to set that up with my new team as well and just make sure that I am taking a break over lunch because taking your mind off of school is so important and you only get a short amount of time to do that during the day, and lunch is probably your time to do that. Okay, number 6. A huge mistake I made in teaching is starting a PhD program right after I was done with my master's. So I have 2 master's degrees. I have extra certifications and special reading it's a special reading certification and a gifted education certification. So I'm at the point where I'm maxed out on the pay scale for the district that I'm in. I can only get more years of service. I can't do any more education. And a PhD would give me $3,000 more a year. But what I found in that PhD program is they wanted me to quit my teaching job and take a humongous pay cut, almost like a $30,000 a year pay cut to be a grad student full time. And you're basically just their little worker bee. And they try to, I don't want to say brainwash, but kind of brainwash you into the culture of it and make it kind of normalize it and make it seem like you should just quit your job and you won't be able to give your all into your PhD program. And I wish I wouldn't have started that because I wasted money on that and it was a big time suck for me. And it just made me realize that I should focus my energy on my tutoring business. And actually, one of my professors in that PhD program saw my website and she said, Molly, you don't have to have a PhD to do all this entrepreneurship that you're starting. And that really resonated with me because I thought, you know what? I love learning about business in my free time and ways to make extra money that's passive. I don't want to spend money on a PhD program that's not really going to have a good return on investment unless I wanted to become a college professor. And I was already doing that. I already was teaching a master's class and an undergrad class because I was qualified to do so. So I didn't need it. And I wish I wouldn't have started that. But I guess you have to learn from those mistakes sometimes. All right, my last mistake I've made teaching is not starting my Teachers Pay Teachers store from the beginning. I wish I could go back in a time machine and start, because I know my store would be a lot bigger by now and I'd have more passive income. I used to just buy products and not even think about making them. That was never even a reality for me. And then once I learned how to make them, I just, the lid was off and I was running with it. And I started creating products every week. And then that started making more money, and hearing that cha-ching sound on my watch really, really inspired me. So I hope you identified with some of these mistakes I've made teaching, and maybe it'll encourage you to pivot and turn directions. If there's something that you're doing now that you don't want to be doing anymore, like let's say you're waitressing and you're not happy with that because you have to teach and then you're doing that at night, maybe you should consider tutoring. Maybe you should even consider a TPT store. Align your own unique teacher gifts with skills you already have, and that way you can make extra money doing that. If you'd like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in learning any more about tutoring, then I'll leave a link below for my free masterclass on how to start your dream tutoring business in less than 10 hours a week. And also, if you're interested in learning about how to create resources that sell, I'll leave a link below so you can learn all about From Zero to Cha-Ching. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you next time.